I'm Dr. Rick Briggs, Chief Academic Officer for Wicomico County Public Schools. I'm happy to introduce you to our outstanding semifinalists for Wicomico Teacher of the Year. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank all of our wonderful teachers for their time, effort, and dedication they've put into supporting our students on a daily basis. Now I have the pleasure of introducing you to this year's semifinalist.
I know it's written somewhere, I'm not in it for the income, I'm in it for the outcome. I love to see what they become from first grade through 12th grade through college, just to see how they grew, and then they come back to me and say, Miss Dale, because of you, this is what I accomplished. I like to see that, the growth in children. Get them then, so that I can instill in them a love of reading, or just a love of education, period. Right.
I hope that my students know that I care about them. I hope they know that I want them to be successful. I want to see them grow. I want to see them come in every day with a smile on their face. I love seeing the growth in a student from day one until the last day of school. It's amazing how much they can grow in 1 year. It's even more incredible when they come back and they remember you. I just hope that they know I care.
I hope that my students know that they're unforgettable to me, and that I teach them in 2nd grade, and as they go, my oldest crew is in high school right now, and I will still think of them. I still remember their first name, middle name, last name. I still remember the random little things that they told me, and I hope that they just feel like I'm always still there for them, whether it's the next year and they're in 3rd grade coming across the hall, or whether it's high school or college or beyond. It just makes you so proud, and I just love them so much.
Understand that they are not their circumstances. With the demographic of kids that I work with, they don't see past the glass ceiling. Some of them come to school with a lot of struggles and a lot of issues, and I try to let them know the way out of their situations and their struggles. They're gonna have to do it through their education. My kids, they bring me a lot of joy. Even on my bad days, I come in, I can have things going on, and I really do lean on my kids sometimes. And then just knowing that I'm helping them to enhance their lives, and I'm instilling in them things that they just never had instilled in them before.
Right.
I hope that my students know that they're important to me. I want them to know that in education, it's a data-driven world, but they're not just a number. They're each important for the individual student that they are, and their successes are my successes. It's so nice to see a student when that light bulb goes off in math class. I have so many students who come to me who say, I hate math, it's hard, and that's my challenge. I take it as my challenge so that I can help them figure out what the key is to their success.
I hope that my students take what we've taught and learned in our classroom about being a good person. We teach the curriculum, but we also teach social emotional. We teach kindness. We teach being confident in ourselves. We teach acceptance of others who might be different than us. I hope my students take that throughout their educational journey and even their lifelong journey, and just choose kindness in everything that they do. And lastly, I just hope my students know if they ever need a helping hand, ear to listen, or just a familiar face, they know where to find their kindergarten teacher.
I hope that my students learn to believe in themselves and develop self-confidence. And in teaching music, that's one of the core things that I try to demonstrate to my class. If they believe in themselves, they're going to be successful no matter their choice of future career or endeavor. And music is transformative, and it can give students the chance to step outside of their academic setting, and it can allow them to have creativity. It can allow them to have an outlet for self-expression, and in turn develop ways where they can believe in who they are going to become.
I hope that my students remember the how when they leave my classroom. It'd be great if they remember, I teach history, so it'd be great if they remembered things like Nelson Mandela and Napoleon, but that's only going to help them if they're on Jeopardy. What they need to remember is how they work together to solve a problem, or how they try to learn a skill to improve themselves. When they leave my classroom, the thing that's going to help them most is remembering how they did all those things.
I hope that my students know they are loved, that they are valued, that they bring something to our classroom community. But as a math teacher, I hope they believe and know that they can do math. Because throughout their lives, they've probably been told 100 times, you're not good at math, you're not a math person, my parents not a math person. And all of that does not have any indication of their own math abilities. And all it takes is a little bit of confidence, a whole lot of love, and we have math success. And so that's what I hope they know when they leave my classroom, that I love them, I value them, but that I believe and they believe that they know that they can do math.
I hope that my students know that the content is what brought us together, but it's the everyday interactions that make them my kids and that are my favorite. Watching them grow as humans, seeing them make mistakes and learn from them, seeing them become the kind of people that I want them to be as adults and that they want to be as adults is just amazing. And that wouldn't have happened if we didn't have the content that connected us together in the first place. And leave every day knowing that you've done something positive and you've impacted something, some way, and just having that feeling of knowing you're there and somebody's counting on you.
I hope that my students enter Y High wanting to see me, wanting to come to my classroom and feeling good about themselves when they leave. I think school should be a place that the kids want to be at, and I hope that I can help bring that to them. With the relationships that I build with my students, with my athletes, really with anybody that I interact with in Y High, I hope that they know that whatever's going on in their day, that they'll have an ear that will listen to them, and a person who's going to bring positivity to them and hopefully make their day better, no matter where they are.
I hope that my students know how much they are loved and cared about. From the moment that they enter my classroom, they have a lifelong mentor with me. Long after the years that they leave my classroom, I will still be there cheering them on through every accomplishment. I will be there with my shoulder for them to lean on through any difficult times. It is my goal every day to create an environment in which my scholars are surrounded by love and positivity and trust and of course lots of fun. And I hope that they look back on their time with me and they remember all those values that I instilled in them and that they continue to instill those values in their everyday lives. I can reassure them that it's going to be fine and that those negative thoughts going on in their mind, to ignore them, that they're better than those negative thoughts. They're bound for greatness, and to not let those negative thoughts get them down.
Well, a couple times a student has reached out to me after they left my classroom and they said, thank you for making me a better person. Most recently, right before Christmas, I got an email that said, thank you for teaching me to be kind and respectful. Thank you for helping me to make better friends. I'm still friends with some of those people today. And she was just thanking me for helping to build her character so that she could be successful in high school. And that's what I try to do with my students every day, is build their character while I'm also teaching them to be good readers and writers.
When I think about a memory that really defines why I teach, I can't help but think about a specific student, and particularly a certain day where I had to address her for talking during class. I, with the biggest smile on my face, went over to her and said, now's not a time we should be talking to our neighbors. And the reason I had a smile on my face is because she was a nonverbal student. She came to me with a long history of not communicating with peers or adults. She would spend every recess with me, and it started with her responding with 1 or 2 words, and eventually she was leading the conversations and keeping them going. So the day that I had to ask her, please not to talk during class, really defines why I teach. I teach to help my students come out of their shells and to help them feel comfortable while they're with me.
When I started a couple years ago, I wanted to figure out a way to transcend the learning from the classroom into the homes, because fitness and health and healthy habits is just so important for children, adults, all around the world. And so I created these healthy habits activity calendars. So each month, the children would have ideas to do at home. The first week they would focus on food, the next week they would focus on fun, the next week would be fitness, and finally family. And I didn't know how it was going to be received, but after doing it for several months and making it a monthly incentive with rewards for the class or the grade level that would bring in the most, it was phenomenal to see the response. The students not only were so proud to turn in those calendars, but they also were just so excited to tell me about the stories and activities that they were doing outside of the gymnasium with their families. It was one time I actually had a couple parents reach out to me, and it was that moment of receiving that message that they were thanking me, not from a student, but from a parent thanking me that I gave them these ideas and this family time that they turned into quality family time. They were doing the calendars together daily, and they said, "You have really made a difference in our family life now. We have now established healthy habits, and it's because of you." So at that point, I thought, wow, I'm really doing my job, and this is why I love it, because I'm not only reaching the students, but their families as well.
What comes to mind is every year I take my band to a festival where they are judged on their performance. And when we get to that last note of the last song that we perform, when we can hear it ring through the auditorium, and I see in the faces of my students the acknowledgement that all the work they've been putting in and all the time that they've spent practicing at home and after school rehearsing and all the skills that they developed and all the things that they learned in order to be able to do what they just did, the fruit of that was a superior performance. And they know it. They know it when it's good. And when that happens, they also realize that they couldn't have done it without everybody else on the stage being just as engaged and just as motivated to make it great. And when that happens, there's this kind of a magic in that moment where the kids have this joy of using what they've been taught to do something really special. And I mean, that's what makes teaching fun for me.
When I was in juvenile detention education, I had a student that came from Baltimore. We had quite a few. And they're usually very hard. They don't share anything, and they're hard to get to. But I had one that started trusting me. And I was teaching English then, not my favorite subject. And we were doing short stories, and we were talking about things, and they had never read a book. So I went out and I bought Monster by Walter Dean Myers. And we started reading. Well, then I figured out they couldn't read very well. So I got the CD from the library, and this one huge 18-year-old Baltimore City kid sat right next to me, and I would point to the words as they were said. And he started getting it. You know, I thought back to what did I do when I was a child, or what did I do with my children? And we read aloud. So, and he really thanked me, and he said that out of all the teachers, I was the only one that ever took the time to figure out what he needed and provide it.
Yeah, a few years ago, I was in the drive-thru at Arby's, and I went to pay, and a young lady said, "Mrs. Rhodes, is that you?" I was like, "Yes." And she said, "Do you remember me?" And I'm looking at this face, and it's really hard to tell from second grade to a young adult. And she told me her name, and I did remember. She goes, I was not a good girl. She goes, "I gave you a hard time. You called my mom and sat down with us, and you told us that you thought I was capable of a lot more than I was giving, and that's why I was hard on her, and that I was going to push that she could get to the magnet program." And I said, "Well, how are you doing now?" And she said, "Well, I am dual enrolled, and I am going to college now." So that I try really hard, and I push some of those kids that need that extra push, and that just reinforced of why I do what I do.
When I was teaching second grade at Beaver Run, I had a student, and he had been struggling through the years, and he was rostered to my class. And I was so excited to start working with him. Every day he would walk down the hall to my room, but he would never come in. He wanted me to know he was there, so he'd peek his head in. And every day I would go out and I would tell him that I believed in him, I wasn't going to give up on him, that I was his teacher now and I was invested in him. And when he was ready, then I would be ready. And a couple weeks of that, and one day he finally came in and he sat in his seat and he was ready. And it was such a powerful moment for us because he finally trusted me. And teaching is full of memories like that.
The one thing I think is most important I've learned is saying no, which I think sounds very counterintuitive. As being a teacher, it sounds very odd to say the best thing I've learned is to say the word no. But it's important to take care of yourself, as I think, as an educator and everyone in general. But this is definitely a job that if you don't set those healthy boundaries, say the word no, and kind of respect and honor yourself in your own time, it's hard to give everything you can to these students, and they deserve the best version of you. And the only way I can do that is if I also take care of myself.
As a teacher, over the past few years, I have learned how important it is to have a positive parent connection. Since I now teach pre-K3, a lot of times I might be the very first person that is a non-family member that parents are sending their babies to. And if parents have had a negative experience at school, it is my job to let them know that their babies will be okay and that they're going to thrive. And I need to have that trust with them, so then their children can thrive as well. So it's a positive experience for all. And when parents are comfortable, children will be more comfortable, and then more learning can take place.
I have learned that neuroplasticity is real. That at my age, I am still loving, learning, growing, changing, and enjoying my job at the same time. I can't imagine doing anything else. And you know what? I get as much love from them as I give back. So it makes me happy every day that I go. It's that simple.
My best day as a teacher was actually last year. I suffered a stroke, and my students actually surprised me at Encompass Rehab, and it was such an incredible feeling to see them line the hallway. And I had just found out that day that I was getting out of my wheelchair, and seeing both of my classes line, they had lined the windows with posters, and each poster had something from a relationship we had built, like coffee, pictures of my dog, my nickname is Pumpkinhead, and little things that each of our relationships, and I was out of school for quite some time. It was just such an impactful moment. There was tears on both sides of the window, but it truly made me see the impact that I had on them, but it made them see the impact that they had on me. And me standing up out of the wheelchair to show them that I was okay, I think that will stay with them for hopefully a really long time, because they helped. I always tell them that really truly helped get me back to my recovery, and now I'm fully healed, and it was truly the best day of my life as a teacher, but as just a person in general.
My best day as a teacher is when I run into a former student in the community, and we laugh about the old times and we talk about what they're doing now, and sometimes I get to meet their children. Some of my former students are almost 40 now, so I get to really hear about where they've gone in their lives. And to me, that makes walking into the classroom the next day, focusing on the daily objectives and the goals, are important, but when I look at my student sitting in front of me, I think about where do I want that person to be when I run into them at Sam's Club 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and that's really what's important.
My favorite part of teaching is first thing in the morning when I walk into my classroom and I set it up, and then about 20, 30 minutes later, my kids are walking in the door. I love the morning time teaching. I love that the kids are all coming in. I teach pre-K right now, so all my kids that I taught when they were in pre-K or when they were in kindergarten, they all come back and say hi, and I get to say I love you, and I get hugs in the morning, and I just really enjoy it. I love that part of teaching. No 2 days are ever the same in any classroom, I'm sure, but in my classroom especially, so I love that about teaching.